Hello everyone, welcome to Mastery. It's Rosario's Academy. During our previous discussions, we have discussed about the different types of errors and the errors that can be identified with the help of the trial balance and the errors that cannot be identified with the help of the trial balance. Now here, we're going to discuss about how to locate the errors. Before preparing the trial balance, what are the procedure to locate the errors, and after preparing the trial balances, what are the ways to locate the errors that we're going to discuss in detail in this session. At the end of the financial year, after balancing all the ledgers, before prepare the trial balance, if we want to check whether we have committed any errors during our recording or posting, then we can do. Let us discuss one by one. First one is we should check whether we have recorded all the transaction in the journal proper books. That is the first step. In the same way, we should also check on the special journals, that is cash journal, goods journals and bills journals, that whether all the transactions have been recorded properly. The next step is we have to check whether we have committed any total mistakes on subsidiary books, because we may have to record all the similar kind of transaction in the subsidiary books, credit sales on the sales books likewise. So we might have a number of transactions. So that should be checked whether all the elements, all the figures have been properly recorded, whether we have committed any total mistakes or not. And the next one is whether we have posted on the proper ledger accounts in a proper way with the proper amount, with the right amount. That should be checked. And the next one is whether the ledger accounts have been properly totaled and balanced. So these are all the ways are available to check the errors before preparing the trial balance. When it comes to the second one, after preparing the trial balance, suppose we are checking the errors as per the ways that we have discussed now. If you are not able to locate the errors, then what will happen? We have no other go. In order to avoid the further delay, we have to go for preparing the trial balance in order to prepare the final accounts, isn't it? So, after preparing the trial balance, what are the ways are available here? What are the ways are there to locate the errors? So that now we're going to discuss one by one. First one is we should check whether we have made any total mistakes. All the debit account balances and credit account balance, we have to total it once again. And the next one is whether we have taken all the ledger account balances and written on the proper side, credit side or debit side. Suppose salary account, if you are taking the salary account, what would be the balance? Salary account would show the debit balances. Instead of writing the debit side, if you write it on the credit side, then it would become a problem. The trial balance would not tally, isn't it? So whether we have written on the appropriate side, that should be checked. That is the second step. And the third step is, suppose if the difference amount is 1 or 100 like that, 100 or 1000 like that, we have to check the subsidiary books. We have to check the figures and the total amount on the subsidiary books. We might have committed some total mistakes. So that should be checked. Still we can't locate. What is the next stage? Half of the different amount should be taken. Suppose the difference amount is 3000, 1500 should be taken. That 1500 value should be checked with all the ledger accounts. Suppose if you are having the debit side difference value of 3000, half of the value should be taken, that is 1500. That 1500 should be checked with the credit ledger account balances. What will happen sometimes? Suppose instead of writing on the debit side, if you write it on the credit side, what will happen? The debit side balances would be doubled. So that's why we are taking the half of the difference amount and we are checking on the opposite side of the ledger account balances in the trial balance. Then the next stage is take the value and try to divide by 9. If it is divisible by 9 without giving any reminder, then it is assumed that we might have committed the errors of transposition. What does it mean by transposition? Suppose instead of writing 172, if I write 127, that is, this kind of error is termed as transposition errors. We are changing the position of the figures, isn't it? So we might have committed such a kind of errors if the difference amount is divisible by 9 without reminder. Then we should check whether cash and bank account balances have been taken properly. If still we can't even locate the errors, we have to check all the carry forward and brought forward values for each and every ledger accounts, that is opening balance values, whether the opening balance have been taken properly from the previous year's closing balance. So that is another step. If still we can't locate the errors, if the difference value is so high, what we have to do is we have to compare the previous year's trial balance. And we should go through each and every account balances. If there is any higher value balance is there in the current year's accounts, then that should be again checked and compared. What reason the balance have been raised? Say for an example, if suppose we take the nominal account balance, that is salary, we have to compare the last year's salary account and with the present year's salary account. If the present year salary account is too much of high, then we should check what is the reason for the higher balance. Whether the new employees have been added in this current year or what. That should be checked. So this is another stage. Then the next step would be, we have no other choice. We have to check the sundry debtor and sundry creditor accounts. Because when we are preparing the trial balance, what will happen normally? We are summarizing, we are consolidating all the sundry debtors and we are writing in one line. In the same way, we are taking the sundry creditors account and we are consolidating and we are writing in a single line as sundry creditors, and the total value will be written on the credit side in the trial balance, isn't it? So that debtor books and creditor books should be, that debtors and creditors list should be checked, whether we have changed any figures or what. Then the next step is we have to check the subsidiary books, whether we have committed any total mistakes, whether all the transactions have been recorded properly. Say for an example, if the goods journal, there are 4 special journal books are there, goods journal books are there, purchase written and sales written. We should check whether all the transactions have been recorded properly on the respective books. The next stage is the ledger account balances should be checked, whether we have done any carry forwarded mistakes, whether we have done any casting mistakes, whether we have done any balancing mistakes. So that should be checked. Still we can't even locate the errors. We have no other choice. We should take the journal proper and right from the beginning, one by one, all the transactions should be checked with the journal proper and special journals. So this is how we have to locate the errors after preparing the trial balance. I hope you would have understood. Thank you so much for listening.